while I was in Afghanistan, I had a major, and she was an investor, and she was an awesome leader. So long story, she made us read some books, and every week she would give us a class.
What's up, guys? Today we have special guest Michael Oman. Welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here. First podcast ever. Feeling good?
Awesome, bro. So, just like you're a soldier in Afghanistan, you served some time over there, you moved back to the States, and now you've got a $4 million portfolio. Congratulations on the success, bro.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Dude, I mean, like, I'm number one. Thank you for your service, but then also it always like warms my heart to see like a guy like yourself who is humble. You know, you serve our country, but you came back and you found a way to reach kind of financial freedom or like do really well financially for you and your family and you did it through real estate investing.
Correct. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more. What do you have going on currently right now?
Currently right now, we just listed one in market. Last year we did 10 to 12 in Ohio, like it was 10 flips and 2 assignments. This year we're already just posted one about a week and a half ago. And we have
it's like we're in like January, right? So it's we just started the year.
Yeah. Well, we're finishing some projects from last year, and then we've got 2 more lined up that are getting close to finishing by the end of January, early February. So.
And you've got like a little portfolio too, like a.
Correct. Yeah. I own about 7 rental properties in Ohio. I just bought a project in San Diego, and then I own a 33,000 square foot storage facility in Ohio.
Dude, it's so killer, bro. I mean, like when you're younger and just kind of like thinking about the future, did you ever imagine yourself as owning multiple rental properties, a storage facility, or like, you know, I mean, like.
Honestly, no. You know, I never even thought about it. Like my dad's a blue collar guy. Okay. You know, he grew up through the oil fields as like a general laborer and worked himself all the way up. Like he's a W-2 guy, but he started low and worked himself all the way up to running oil fields.
Great.
You know?
I mean, great work ethic.
Right.
You probably had like a great example.
Exactly.
Of like to follow.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I just didn't want that path. You know what I mean? And yeah, so traditionally that was the path. It wasn't the path for me, and so I started looking for alternate ways to make some money.
So I mean, like it seems like a far stretch from being in the military and like, you know, like typically like when you get out, I think a lot of guys struggle to find their identity, figure out like what do they want to do with their lives. Yeah. How did you kind of come across like real estate investing?
So it's a pretty cool story, but while I was in Afghanistan, I had a major, and you know, I didn't do anything cool in Afghanistan. I was mostly in an office most of the time.
Okay,
you know?
okay.
But my major, she was an investor, and she was an awesome leader. So long story, she made us read some books, and every week she would give us a class on it. Yeah.
What was it? I mean, so this is like extracurricular. It wasn't like part of like.
No. Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I love you guys. I want you to succeed after the military.
Correct.
Here's some homework that I'm gonna force you to do.
Yeah, force us to do. Yeah, that's a good term, because I didn't want to do it. My master sergeant was like, "You're buying that book and you're coming to these classes." I was like, "All right, man, all right." But yeah, one of them was a 401k book. One of them was real estate book. And
you know, but work real quick. We were at an awesome mastermind like this past week, and then one of the things they said was like leadership is taking people to do things that they don't want to do. Then after they did them, they're happy that they did it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So your major was really like the example, the epitome of leadership of taking someone like yourself, probably your other coworkers and buddies, who reading these books and investing when you guys didn't want to do it. Right. But then now that you've done it, you must be like so stoked that you did.
I've reached out to her and told her thank you so much for those classes and things like that. It was very beneficial for me. You know, it really got the wheels turning. And in Afghanistan, I did 9 months in Afghanistan, but it was at the end of my tour, end of my service. So I actually went home from Afghanistan and basically just started outcrossing out of the Army. So like it was fresh in my mind when I got out of the Army, you know? So then when I got out of the Army, it was like, how do we figure out how to do this and go to school, you know?
So you're after Afghanistan, you were going to school. What were you going to school for?
So I was always terrible in school, man. Like I barely graduated high school. I mean, like, shout out to my mom. She did a online class like right before graduation just to get me to graduate high school.
So, this is actually like really encouraging for people, because I think a lot of people can relate to you where it's very, I mean, like they struggle in school, but you can still be very successful as a business owner, as a real estate investor.
I feel like people that are like class clowns and stuff like that, and you know, like the networking aspect of entrepreneurship kind of comes easy to those people, and they can kind of move through things like that. But I went to San Diego State. I had moved back and went to Bakersfield. I hate Bakersfield. Have you ever been to Bakersfield? Sorry, people, but it's like the armpit of California. You know what I mean? That's what we consider it. I was born there. I lived there for a long time, but I absolutely hate it. So, I had the GI Bill, right? You know
Okay.
the GI Bill? It's like, go to school, you get paid, right? So then I started looking at, schools and where I can be. And the GI Bill covered, basically, long story short, the GI Bill for Bakersfield was X amount of dollars, and the GI Bill for San Diego was like double that. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So I was like,
okay.
why not go live in San
Yeah,
Diego
yeah,
and try
yeah.
this out?
Yeah.
So moved out to San Diego, did San Diego State for a while, bartended through that.
Okay, so you're bartending while you're going to school.
Correct, yeah.
And then at what point did you kind of break into like real estate investing?
So, I did that for like 4 years, right? And I had a roommate, so I wasn't paying much, and so I was just stacking cash. So
Okay, so you're saving money, like,
I had saved up like $100,000.
wow,
My
just from bartending.
bartending and
while
the
going
GI
to
Bill,
school?
yeah, while going to school.
That's like
Yeah.
no joke, man. Like that's super impressive.
This was in 2017 also, so like $100,000 goes a lot further in 2017 than it does today, But yeah, so I just saved up the money there, and I was like super strict with it. Like I'd be in class at San Diego State, like projecting how much I'm gonna spend for the next week to try and get to this amount.
Budgeting. Then
Yeah.
Were you like how did you figure that out? Like the other budget.
I just would see like how much I make on tips on average, and then start how many days do I work, how many days am I going to spend money in between those days, and I lived off in and out. You know what I mean? I made.
Dude,
Like,
that's so impressive. I mean, to have the discipline to like not
Yeah.
spend money. I'm like the exact opposite. I'm like, I spend way too much more than I should, but it's so crucial to like putting yourself ahead of the game by just being able to like it gives you security, but it also, and so when you have security, it allows you to take more risk,
Right.
which allows you to like 10x or 100x what you have,
right, which led me into, I had 100,000. What am I going to do with this
Yeah,
money?
what were you planning to do with it?
I had no idea. All I know is I was saving money, and I wanted to get to six figures. I
Okay.
wanted $100,000 in my bank account, and I was not going to stop
So
until I
awesome.
did it. Yeah. I ate in and out like every day. I only ate twice a day, and it was like literally 8:01. I remember to this day I'd get a double and fries, and it was like 8:01 every single day. I do it twice a day.
In and out's not a bad way to go.
No.
But still,
Surprisingly, I didn't get super fat, but like it was pretty cool. So then when I got that 100,000, I was like, what am I gonna do with this, right? And so I found Grant Cardone in 2017,
Okay.
and then finding Grant Cardone, and then I found Bigger Pockets,
Okay.
and then I just got like obsessed. Like every waking hour that I could, I was listening to a podcast like all the time.
Dude, like I resonate with that story because in 2018 I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was working at W2, and then I found Bigger Pockets, and I got obsessed with. I
Yeah.
literally listened to like episodes 1 through 380. Like I never missed an
Same,
episode.
same,
Like,
yeah.
like every single episode.
Same.
I lived, eat, and breathe like Brandon Turner and David Reed, dude. Like it just like it was in my subconscious.
Yeah. So we did a workshop, just so I can give context to this. We did a workshop this weekend, and one of the things that somebody said was like, who's in your mirror, right? Like who's in your mirror to help you get to where you got to now. I put Brandon Turner, just because like I felt like, I've never had a mentor.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
They were my mentors. Grant Cardone, Bigger Pockets, Ryan Pineda, you know what I mean? They became my mentors. For
I
sure.
feel the exact same way. It's kind of funny. So like actually, I mean, I listened to him for years, right? Like I built a portfolio, like had some very success in real estate. All kind of just listening to Brandon, Beardy Brandon, and then I had a chance. I went to like Maui one of these days, and like a friend of ours had like a meetup, and then I got to meet him in person.
Really?
And then like you know how we were talking the other night about being starstruck. I was a little starstruck because like you listen to like hundreds of hours to this dude like in your car or whatever, like just over and over, like you know the sound of his voice, that you feel like you know him.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the part of social media where like you're spent so much time with them even though they haven't spent any time with you.
Right.
So like you feel like you really know this person, and so like when you see them in real life, I was like, and so here it's so crazy. So like, I was like, dude, Brandon, like you changed my life. And he's like, this is so crazy. This is what he told me. He told me, no, dude, you changed your life. It's so good.
Yeah. I don't do much mentorship or anything like that, but one of my best friends is, he's trying to break into real estate, and, he keeps telling me, like, thank you for the mentorship. You don't have to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you're doing the work, man.
Yeah.
You're calling, you're doing it. So I understand where he's coming from with that. Like, he just gave you some information, some tools, but not many people have the grit to go out and do what they heard, So,
But I mean, I feel like it's a similar story because like I was obsessed. It sounds like you're obsessed.
absolutely obsessed. Like, I cannot tell you how obsessed I was.
That's
like,
so funny. So,
like to the point where my mom was telling me that, man, when you first started real estate, me and your dad didn't even want to come over because all you would talk about was real estate. And we're like, oh, not this again.
dude, that's
like,
my coworkers and my family too.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, you're gonna like lose all your money.
Yeah. Well, imagine everybody's faces when I told them, I was a little jumping ahead, but I was quitting my union job to go chase real estate, you know?
Were they happy about that?
No.
Dude, my coworkers in my family were not happy when I quit when I was gonna quit my job.
Really?
It's kind of crazy.
Oh man. Yeah, we'll get I kind of want to backtrack a little bit because after that we got obsessed with it. I saved that 100K and my goal was to like once I graduated college,
Okay.
me and my wife wanted to travel.
Okay.
So we had been to Asia. I mean, I lived in Germany for like 4 years during
Okay.
the army.
Okay.
But we had traveled to Thailand and it was like the most amazing time we ever had. And so we said, before I go get a job, you know, or chase whatever I'm going to do after college, let's go to Asia and let's travel around. And that gave me that real taste of freedom. You know, that real taste of like
just you traveling, like you don't have like any no ties or bonds.
I don't have to go to work.
Wherever you want.
Yeah.
You want.
Anticipating going to the bar tomorrow to go serve these customers and I'm not like clocking in anything.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Tomorrow we get to wake up and say, what do you want to do? Do you want to go chase some waterfalls or anything? So that taste of freedom was huge for me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So then while in Asia, we were in Thailand. We were kind of going back and forth from like Thailand, Malaysia. Like we went all over Southeast Asia. But
any kids at this time?
no kids at the time.
Like,
Yeah.
you're just like you guys can just
Yeah,
like your free spirits.
we were having like a blast. It was just like riding scooters everywhere. You want to go here today? Like that type of life, you know? But the whole time we were there, any free moment, I'm watching podcasts. Like I remember specifically one time in Vietnam, we were flying out the next day and I'm drinking by myself at 2:30 in the morning, listening to Bigger Pockets. Like, I can do this. I can do this.
No, I was like, when you guys like in the car and stuff, are you listening to the podcast with your wife inside?
Yeah. I mean, she's never done real estate, but man, she can tell you so much about real estate.
No,
now.
I mean, so this is one thing I appreciate about my wife too is that when I was like in this journey, when we were driving the cars, I just play the podcast, and my wife is cool with like listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
Because there's other partners I've known who are like, no, I want to listen to my music. Whatever, but it's cool that your wife was like on board with like the whole process, you know.
Honestly, like not to be cliche, but like I couldn't do any of this without my wife. You know what I mean? My wife has been like my biggest supporter. Like we'll get to it, but we moved to Ohio.
Okay.
Not even ever being there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just to chase something, and she was behind me the whole way. You know what I mean? So having that support system is amazing.
So you guys are circling Thailand, Malaysia.
Circling Thailand, Malaysia. I'm listening to podcasts all day long. Like I don't like. I'm literally we took our scooter ride for like 3 hours, and I'm listening to a podcast the whole way while she's just behind me listening to music and stuff. You know. But yeah. So then I just got to the point where like I was like I need to put up or shut up. You know what I mean? I need to do something, or I'm never gonna do it. So I'd been talking to a wholesaler in Memphis, and he was sending me deals. Blah blah blah. I was trying to figure out the ARVs. You know, you don't really. You know, it's
when
like
when you're brand new,
yeah.
everything is so like it's so hard to understand.
Yeah, everything. Like I didn't know how title worked. I didn't know how anything worked. But this guy sent me a deal in Memphis, and it was like $30K.
Okay.
You know, and he was like
for a house, right? $30,000 for a house.
For a house.
Like crazy.
Right. Yeah. And I mean,
especially living in California, right?
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
This is like a car. It's like,
so my mindset was like $30,000. I can buy 3 of these bad boys right now. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. I bought 3 of them.
So like this, there's no loan. It's just the price of the house is $30,000.
Right. Right. So I had gotten over 100,000. So like it was 30, 90,000. I had some for some rehab over here. I used a credit card for the second rehab. And then I begged my parents to let them cash out some of their credit card, you know, like 10, 15,000 to let me finish a rehab on this one because I was burying all of them, you know? So
explain what the BRRRR is.
So I would buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, right?
So you buy it for $30,000.
Bought it for $30,000. We put it was 2017 again. So, and it was in Memphis. I mean, I put like 15 into it, you know, so I'm probably all in 45 and it appraised for like 75, you know, so I was able to pull my money out.
So you buy it for 30, you put in like 15 grand in the renovation to get it for 45.
Correct.
Then it appraised for 75. And you can do a cash out refinance for 75% of the 75.
Right.
They'll give you like 55.
It was like 55,
cash,
yeah.
And then you take that cash, you pay back your bank account that you took the money from,
Correct.
or your credit card or whatever.
Yep.
And then you have like this property that with none of your money inside of it.
Yep. Yeah. And so they were all cash flowing about $100, $200. You know, it wasn't anything, but at the time, you know, that's what everybody was preaching.
Start. Yeah,
right.
The start of the.
That was a start, and everybody was preaching, you know.
Cash flow.
Cash flow. BRRRR. Leave no money in the property.
Yeah.
If it makes $100, remember that Brandon Turner. If it makes $100, then it's a deal, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't a deal, but
I think it was. I mean, like because you got equity inside there.
Right.
You're slowly building, and then over time, did they go up in value with appreciation?
You know, they did after COVID. You know, but I sold them like so. We had a lot of tenant turnover because Memphis and the area that I was buying, buying 30K houses.
So like the 100 cash flow is like, that's like pro forma.
Pro forma.
But then like the actual cash flow is less because like vacancies or like repairs and things.
And every tenant turnover was costing me $4,000 or $5,000. You know.
I see. Yeah.
So and I'm like,
that's where the negative is.
Exactly. I'm not making any money off this. You know, let's say it's $100 over the year. That's $1,200. 4,000. That's like 3-4 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is not.
So this is like a really important point to talk about, I think. And so I think when I first started, we were like both Bigger Pockets fans, and the whole goal was cash flow to leave your job, right? So like you have passive income, then you don't have to work. It's coming in when you're sleeping, whatever. And so I did the same thing in Indianapolis. Couple $100 a door. I was like, hey, I just need 50 of these guys to reach financial freedom. But then like what people don't realize is that when, let's say like the mortgage is like $700, they are rented for $1,000. You pay like, let's say like $100 to your property manager. That difference is not just all cash flow, because let's say like they move out and it's vacant for a month or 2 months. Let's say you actually have to evict somebody. There's like 6 months of no rent, and then when they leave, you gotta repair whatever damages they did. $2,000, new carpet. You gotta repaint, fix toilets, whatever. $3, 4, $5 at a time. Then at the end of like the year, you literally could be like negative cash flow because of like the vacancies of the repairs.
Yep, exactly. And that's kind of like where I fell into it, was just like the first year I was like, oh, I'm doing this, you know, I got 3 properties, what's up, I'm in the real estate game.
Like, it's cool because like, you feel like the door count, like it affects like your status. Like, I'm a landlord, I own rental properties, I'm an investor.
I own 3 houses, you know, like don't worry, they're losing me money, but I'm making, you know. So so then the first tenant turnover hit, and it was $4,100, and I was like, what? You know what I mean? They only lived there for a year. Why is this $4,100? And again, at the time, 2017, $4,000. I was like, are you painting the whole house and like, you know, redoing the floors? I only had spent $15K on the rehab, you know, so 4,000. I'm like, dude, what's going on here? So fast forward, when we came back from Asia, actually in Asia, we were trying to figure out like, you know, what are we going to do, right? Like when we go back, are we going back to San Diego, and are we just chasing real estate? What are we doing, right? So when we went back, my father, again, he was a pretty top dog on the oil fields, and he was telling me, dude, go apply for this job, take the test. It was like an operator test, and if you pass it, I can get you a job, you know. And it was like $43 an hour, you know what I mean? A union job. So I was like, we want to go back. We have a family. We want to make a family. Blah blah blah. Let's go get some benefits.
It's stable, right?
Right.
Like, it's nice and stable.
Let's go get some benefits. And little did I know that would just like hold me back so much. You know what I mean? Because while I just drove around on an oil truck checking pumping, or on an oil field checking pumping units, making sure the production was staying where it was, nothing was broken, blah 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 blah. I was listening to podcasts like nonstop still. You know?
So you're still learning like while you're working. Like, I mean, while you're working W2, you had open free time to continue to better yourself.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I was driving around a truck all day by myself.
So why do you think it was holding you back?
Because I had work responsibilities, right? And then by the time I got off, I would only see my son for like an hour. So like when I get home, like I didn't want to do anything besides see my son. And then like trying to find deals and stuff like that. Like while I could have done it, and I did. I bought a 15 unit while I was on the oil field.
So while you're on the oil field, driving around, working a 9 to 5, you bought a 15 unit.
Yeah. do you know Holton and Wise? Like James Holton, he was on the Bigger Pockets a lot.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's a big Cleveland wholesaler, right? So he was putting out videos and stuff. I started following him too. And then he started selling some of his wholesale deals through his YouTube. Okay. And so they had listed this 15 unit. I'm on YouTube all day. I'm like, how do I get this? This is, you know, Grant Cardone. I'm going to get this 15 unit, you know? So long story short, we bought it, you know? But then I think like my having to be at work all day hindered me from being able to manage that correctly, you know?
Because like you don't have, it doesn't get the attention it deserves.
Right. So, and it's a different beast, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it's crazy. Like, what made you think that you could like just jump into a 15 unit? Because I mean, like, you know, like you're doing the singles. Like, how did you get the confidence to like, okay, I'm gonna take down a 15 unit?
I think I just have false confidence. You know what I mean? Like, I just watch something and I'm like, I'm gonna try it, and I don't care. Like, you know, one thing about me is like, I don't necessarily think I'm gonna be like in my head. I'm not like I'm gonna be the most successful person, whatever. But in my head, I know I'm not gonna quit no matter what.
You can do it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna quit no matter what. Like, if I bought this, I'm gonna see it through. You know, and so my goal was just to get in the game of multifamily, you know?
I feel like this is like a very common trait I see with all like successful investors, entrepreneurs, is this confidence that like you know you can do it, and you know it's not gonna be easy. You know, you're like there's gonna be like challenges, so you have a realistic expectation of what it's gonna take. But then you have this inner confidence that like whatever comes your way, you'll be able to tackle it on, and you're not gonna give up.
Right.
So.
I mean, a lot of things came from that 15 unit. Like, it was like nonstop, you know? It was just constant, you know. The rents were $450.
Okay.
You know, and it was a good area of Cleveland. It's actually, if anybody's familiar with Cleveland market, it's off of Old Brooklyn. It's in Old Brooklyn off of Ridge Road and 480. So it's a good spot. It's right there by Lowe's and everything like that. But we took them from $450 average rents up to like $750.
Okay.
And then it just became such trying to manage it from here, manage it there, doing rehabs.
Were you guys had a project manager over there?
We had a property manager,
property manager.
and they kind of managed our rehabs and
So your
stuff.
property manager kind of acted as your project manager for the renovations.
Correct. Yeah. Which, I mean, it worked out, you know, but it was definitely like more, okay, you know, like for instance, I just moved to San Diego. I didn't know any contractors, know anything, right? I got a project there. The day I got there, I started like going through Facebook, running people through it, bids. The difference in the prices of the bids are insane. Right, like one of them was $250,000 to renovate the house. The other one came back $50,000 labor, $70,000 labor in San Diego.
Oh, San Diego, yeah.
So like the moral of that story is that like get multiple quotes, and I wasn't able to do that for that 15 unit, right? So we paid more than we should have for the rehabs and whatnot. And so 18 months down the road, I'm like, man, this is too much. Like I just like it's time to exit this thing and try to move to something else because I felt like, you know, Grant Cardone always says 16 units or above, you know? I was like, oh, 15 units. I'm right there, baby. Let's go, you know? But, man, you can't put somebody on the – somebody's not living there. You know what I mean? Someone's not managing everything all day long.
An in-house property manager.
Right. So nobody's really there. And the property manager was in Akron most of the time, which is like 45 minutes away. So, yeah, anyways, we bought it for $525. We ended up exiting it for $660 18 months later.
Not bad, yeah.
It's not like we made a bunch of money, but I did gain a ton of experience on that. You know what I mean? Most people are like, you owned a 15 unit? You know what I mean? Like, you don't own it now. Why not? But, you know, it gave me a good amount of experience and lessons learned for that. So
you sold the 15 unit, and then what was like the next step in the plan?
Oh, then things got a little wild. So then we sold the 15 unit. And I was like, okay, cool. That stress is relieved off me, right? You know?
This is all while you're working at W2.
All while I'm working at W2. I'm like, okay, that stress is relieved. I still got those 3 houses. Like, what's our next step? You know, I started putting in calendar dates on everything. I will have X amount of properties by this date. I will have this by this date, you know, just so I can keep myself accountable. But I wasn't hitting those metrics, you know? And I was just like trying to find a deal, and somebody local was getting it from me or whatever, you know? And I'm just sitting on the oil field all day like, you know, I'm looking around at the guys when we're in the meetings and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to be you. I don't want to be you. Who's the manager? I don't want to be him. You know what I mean? And it's going to take me 25 years to get to that manager. Like, literally 25 years. That's the one
thing about, like, in your W2 or corporate America, you can kind of see your future.
Right.
So, like, I mean, like, and, like, not just, like, dog on anything, like, cause, like, some people, like, will enjoy the stability and, the, like, the surety of it.
Right.
Like, 401k, but then like it's just you wherever you are now, you can see where your future is, and you have to make a decision: do you want that future or not?
Right. And so I had seen my dad work from where I was at up to where he was at, and it took him forever. You know what I mean? And most people where he's at now could only get there with an engineering degree. And I tried engineering for like a quarter, like 3 weeks. I went to like the first 3 math classes. I was like, no, dog, I'm not doing this. Like, there's no chance I'm gonna do this. But yeah, so, you know, I just looked around and was like, man, to get to the next level, it's going to take me 10 years. To get to the level after that, it's going to take me another 10 years. And I started looking at their pay scale. All right, I'm making $99K right now, you know, $43 an hour plus a bonus. I'm making $99K. This guy, the next level, to take 10 years, is only making $110. This guy, to take the next level, is only making like $140. And I knew all that because my dad, you know, knows the salaries for all that. And I'm just like, bro, I'm not waiting 10 years to make an extra $20,000. I'm not waiting 20 years to make an extra $40,000. It just seemed insane to me, you know. And then it just ate at me every single day, you know. And then
you kind of need like, I mean, like I feel like because investing in business is so difficult, you can't like you need something like to drive you, like, you know. So like I feel like the fact that it's eating at you every day is actually something that's like actually helpful for you in your journey, you know?
100%. Yeah. Well, one of the main things that was eating at me all day was like, I don't know. I don't know the mindset or where I got this mindset or what the case was, but I felt like I could do better than this. You know, I felt like this is not where I'm supposed to be, and that feeling would not leave me. You know, and then I'm waking up at 4:45, driving an hour out to the oil field.
So you're busting your butt.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, before my son's awake, you know, I'm gone. And I'm not getting back till like 5:30. And he's getting ready for bed at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. He's in his, you know, they call it a witching hour with kids, you know, and like at like 5 to 7, they're in like their worst mood because they're getting tired, you know. So I'd get home and he'd be like, I hate you, basically. You know what I mean? He couldn't talk, but like the way he was giving that energy was like, get away from me. So I was just like, man, like my relationship with my son is going to fault from this, you know, and I could not let that go. You know, like I could not let that feeling go of like, I'm better than this and I don't want to spend my life away from my kids. So, and then, you know, to get even, yeah, I'm a big guy on signs, you know, like when something happens to me, I'm like, you know, I look back and I'm like, the sign pointed me to that. This was happening, blah, blah, blah. Well, like the way signs go with me is just like, I feel like they're pushing me towards a certain thing. And like everything at that time I felt was like pushing me out the door to leave my W-2 and to move. You know, there's just like little things where even if they're not signs to me, they felt like a sign like, oh, all of a sudden they're putting a tracking thing in our truck. You know, and they know when we start it, stop it, when we make a crazy turn, anything like that. And just that level of control alone was like, this is a sign to leave. You know what I mean? Like everything became a sign to leave. So yeah, so then, I mean, fast forward to when we quit, we literally, COVID was going on. So, and that was another thing. COVID was going on. There was nobody on the oil field. Like to the point where like I would park my truck and walk like 3 or 4 miles around the oil field and not see anybody all day long. And that was happening all the time. So you imagine the thoughts you're going through in the mindset that I was in at the time, just walking by yourself all day long, like complete isolation, you know? So then our wedding had gotten postponed. We were going to get married. So our wedding got postponed because of COVID. So then my wife made me, she kept saying, well, we're going to wait until after the marriage or after our wedding because I don't want to come back and forth. And I was like, no, let's go now.
You like to leave?
To leave to Ohio. I was like,
so why Ohio?
Because I had the 15 unit there.
Okay.
And I had bought like 3 more rental properties there.
So like while you're in your W-2, you had the 15, you sold it, and you also bought 3 more rental properties in Ohio?
Correct.
Single family.
So yeah, the story with that was like the person that sold my 15 unit was also like a investor realtor.
Okay.
And she helped me buy 3 more rental properties, which have been like one of the most stable rental properties I've ever had. So I had that one connection. I had a 15 unit and 3 properties there. And then I had another one under contract that was $55,000.
Okay.
And I was like, let's just move into that house. Like, let's buy it cash. Let's move in there. If I can flip 1 house a year, we can be fine. You know what I mean? I could be home with you guys all the time, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, back to before the wedding, that's where I was going with that. With the signs that I had, we tried to buy 5 houses in Bakersfield. Because
where you guys were staying.
Yeah, because like, you know, the volatility of my mindset at the time was like, okay, let's go. But then it was like, am I making the right decision? Everyone's telling me no. Everyone's telling me like, what are you doing? You have benefits, blah, blah, blah. So we started putting in offers on houses in Bakersfield to stay there.
Yeah.
And we were putting 20 over asking, you know what I mean? Like,
was this COVID like right after that?
Yeah.
They came back into the world was crazy.
Right. And I mean, like interest rates were really low at the time. So like everything was 25, 30 over market. So we were putting in offers 20 over on 5 houses. We got denied on 5 houses, and with conventional financing, making it easy on everybody. 5 houses we got denied. And on the 5th one, I was like, this was like, I don't know, like, some spiritual or something was telling me that like you're not supposed to be in Bakersfield. So we didn't get accepted on any of those deals. It was like, let's go, you know. So
you uprooted your whole family to go to Ohio. But I mean, I like where your mind's going here, because right now you're working the kind of like slave driving, right? Like you're super early in the morning, you come back late, and like you don't see your family.
Right.
The thought is, if you can move to Cleveland, flip 1 house a year, replace your salary,
right,
and then but you get to spend all the time with your family.
Right. So. Exactly. I mean, like I was making $99 a year, but like after taxes and everything like that, I was bringing home like $3,500 a month. You know what I mean? So in my eyes, I was like, I could flip 1 house, make $35K, and be similar if I can tax, do some things with the taxes and stuff. So I was like, man, you split that over. My mindset was like, make $35K, split it over 12 months, and I'll be able to survive. You know? Yeah. So that was my mindset on that.
Okay, so you guys moved to
Ohio, yeah. And for everybody that knows the Ohio market, we actually moved into Maple Heights, which is like not the best neighborhood, but it's definitely not like, it's not the worst neighborhood, but it's definitely not the best neighborhood, is what I meant to say, you know? And like we moved there, and when we drove in, we were like, oh, what did we do? You know what I mean?
Things like, because like when you're on the internet or you see things online,
Exactly.
you don't get a real picture
Right.
of the feel of the neighborhood.
Right.
This is like a problem thing a lot of investors who invest out of state run into, because they're like, the house is 30 grand, I can't go wrong. But they don't realize, okay, there is some like challenges with the neighborhood,
Right.
leasing it out, finding the tenants, or even having the tenants like being stable. And so just unless like something like, so I think the Bigger Pockets always talks about, oh, you don't have to visit the things, and like you can do everything remotely, which you can. But I think it's really helpful if it's your first time out of state to just take one trip there and just see what the area is like.
Right. So. And we did not do that. Like we had already sold the 15 unit. I had never been to Cleveland. Like bought it, renovation, sold it, had 3 properties out there, bought the 4th, and decided to move out there, and never had been there before. So imagine how supportive my wife is. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah, you're always congrats on you.
Moving with a 1-year-old too, you know? So yeah, so we moved into Maple Heights, and we got there and we were like, no, like we cannot, you know, this is not the neighborhood to stay safe in, you know? So then like instantly I was like, I got to find another house to get us out of here. And so I just started looking. One popped up that was a fixer-upper in a place called Parma, Ohio, and it's a lot nicer area. And so I just made an offer on it. We ended up paying like $20K more than what we thought we're supposed to. And like they had listed it for like, let's say like it was like 112, and they got a bunch of offers. We bought it for 132.
Okay.
And I was like, man, we overpaid for this, but I wanted to get out of that neighborhood. I want to get my family out of that neighborhood. So that Maple Heights house, we ended up making $30,000 on. So
you saw, I mean, you renovated it, you flipped it.
Yeah. It was pretty clean house. I mean, we painted, refinished the floors.
So you guys did all the work yourself and everything?
Yeah. I mean, besides the refinishing of the floors, me and my wife and my mom and dad flew out.
Equity.
Yeah, we're paying it. I'm like, oh, I'd rather do this than pay somebody. No, I'm never doing that again. That took forever. It was miserable. Like, I'm never doing that.
It's good learning lesson.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It feels great, too.
Right. So that house that we bought for 132, we moved into it. And, you know, it was great. But we thought we overpaid for it, you know. And so I thought that I could exit it for 169 at the time, you know. And so I was like, well, maybe if we just put like 20K into it, we can just get out of it and move to the next one. It wasn't the best house, but it was just to get out of that neighborhood, right? Okay. So long story short, we redid in Cleveland, for whatever reason, they don't have many open concepts.
Open like
so like California, like every house is an open concept, right? So I'm like, I see this wall, I want it down, you know. So that's what happened. We made it an open concept. We listed it for 180, and it sold for 200K.
Wow.
Yeah, like pretty quickly, you know. So then that mind shift switch happened again, you know, because I made 30 on the first one, I made like 35 on this one, and then I was like, how do I continue this? You know, how do I keep this going?
You have like a repeatable, like a. You have like a game plan to like, to bring in like real income to replace your job by flipping houses.
Right. And like I said, when I went over to Ohio, the only goal was to flip one house and, you know, try and figure out real estate just to be able to be near my family, you know, and raise my kids being present. And so it just kind of like from there, I tried wholesaling, you know. I started sending out mailers. I hired 3 cold callers and we were grinding it out every day. We actually did pretty well. You know, I only did it for like 6 months, but we were averaging like 2 deals a month for a little while.
What made you decide to stop?
I hated dealing with the people, man. I was doing all the walkthroughs myself, all the follow-ups. You know, like they would cold call them, but I was responsible to do the follow-ups, you know, and I hated it.
It's a lot of work, and you're dealing with just like different characters and things, right?
Yeah, so. I mean, the amount of hoarder houses that I went into, like I'd walk out with fleas all over my legs. Like I've had guns pulled on me. Really? Like I was just like, man, this is not what I want to do forever, but I know I need to do it now to get to the next spot, you know? So I just grinded it out. Like I said, we did like 2 deals per month and we were doing pretty well, but then I started to absolutely hate that side of it. And where I messed up is I didn't build a team from there. You know what I mean? I should have hired an acquisitions manager to handle all those leads and the follow-up and whatever, and then build from there. But instead, I was just like, I hate doing this. I can't afford to pay somebody. I'm out. You know? And I can buy deals from wholesalers. By then, I had a network of some wholesalers around and some other investors and some other agents. So I was just like, I'd rather buy from a wholesaler.
I mean, so that's the thing is like, a lot of times when we're as investors, like or like non-investors, like why would what's the point of a wholesaler? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would you get somebody under contract and like put your own charge on it and sell it to like another person?
Right.
Why doesn't that person just sell it directly to the investor?
Mm-hmm.
But as investors, we don't want to deal with all the crap that like talking with the sellers and all those things has to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have somebody else do all that work, and then when they go to bring us a deal, we'll just buy it directly from you. And I'm happily pay like your assignment fee, like, you know.
Yeah, that's where I got with it. Well, I'm like, oh, I could pay this guy $10K to go do that. While that sucks, I'll still make $40K. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with that stuff, and I can make $40K
Yeah.
and just manage my contractors and whatever. So that's kind of the route I took from there.
So just start flipping houses. So you did 2 in Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
and then what was the next step after that?
So after I did those 2, that's when I started wholesaling. I found another house, and it was in Middleburg Heights, Ohio. I don't know why I keep saying all the names like everybody knows, but yeah, I got it for $79,000, and it appraised for like $213. Like,
Wow.
so we moved into that house
Okay.
after we sold that. Man, we did a lot of moving because we were just trying to like level up, you know.
Yeah.
So I ended up like just keeping that house. It's paid off now, and it's just like a renter in
Okay.
there. And then another one came up literally down the street that was on a half an acre, and it was a complete hoarder house. Raccoons were infested, mice infested. Like if you walked in there, you felt like you were gonna like pass out. Like it was so bad. I'll show you some pictures of it. But yeah, so we bought that one, moved in, renovated that one, moved into that one. And yeah, it just kind of from then I had already had some contractors now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I had some better connections, and
You
so
gained some like momentum in like the community and things.
correct, yeah. And you know, like as much as like we were talking about like virtual, like I really felt like I got a lot of the deals and a lot of the things that I did because I was a face to them, you know.
Yeah.
And so like
I mean, that's definitely a competitive advantage. So if you are local, like definitely use that.
right,
So,
yeah. Because everybody would be like, well, when do you want to see the house? I'm like, I'll come right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then that show up 15 minutes later,
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
this guy's serious,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, but then in the midst of that, I kind of found AJ Osborne,
Okay.
you know, and he's
Another bigger pockets guy.
yeah, another bigger pockets guy. He's a huge storage facility guy, you know, and I just like read his book. I started getting obsessed with storage facilities from there. And then, so I was just like, I want one. I'm going to figure out how to get one. You know, I was like, whatever it takes for me to get one, I'm going to get one. So I started like going on Google, looking up storage, and boom, there's our phone number. Hey, are you the owner? You're interested in selling the property? Like literally just that simple, you know? And I did that for like, I want to say like 7 to 9 months, somewhere in that range.
Okay,
And I would make myself call like for an hour or 2 a day.
Okay.
You know, and
So I mean, this is the part I think a lot of people don't see is the consistency over a long period of time, sticking to the game plan, even with 0 results.
Right.
And so like this is like the like super important point is that like when you eventually will get a deal, it wasn't like it didn't just happen. It's
Right.
like this long grind before you actually had like that success.
yeah, it's, you know, I attribute a lot of things to like, I call it grit. You know what I mean? Because you have just the grit to keep going, the grit to like not let anything stop you, whatever gets thrown at you. Like it doesn't matter. Like I tell my my buddy, if I went bankrupt tomorrow, if I lost everything tomorrow or today, tomorrow I'm gonna go try and find another flip. You know what I mean? Like I don't care. Cool, I lost there, but I know what I can get back to where I need to go. And like a lot of the stories we heard this week, where like a lot of people would like catch a level of success, something would drop off, and then those guys would just get back on the horse and then turn it around 10x whatever they were doing. So that's kind of just like my mindset. I'm just whatever gets thrown at me, I don't care. If I make a decision, I'm gonna do something. I'm not gonna stop until I do that. You know. So then one of the calls, I call a guy and he's like, yeah, if you can give me 2.5 million for it. Everybody else was like, no, storage is great. I'm not selling to you. You know, like, who are you? Right. I did a few walkthroughs. I had like one under contract for a minute. He just backed out last minute. It was weird. But then this guy was just like, you give me 2.5 million, it's yours. And I was like, okay, what do I do from here? You know, what do I do? Okay. Do you want me to come look at the storage facility or what? So went out to the storage facility. From that phone call to it closed was 9 months.
Wow.
So like trying to foster that, you know, he was like, I need to find what I'm going to do with the 1031 money. I was trying to do a seller finance. It just wasn't happening, blah, blah, blah. So what I did was I just let it play out. I didn't negotiate whatsoever. I just let it play out. Like, however this is going to go. Send me your docs, whatever. Again, I'm just learning as I go. Like, what do I do next? Let's ask him for his, his unit occupancy and have him send me that stuff. So I'm just going, okay, who can finance this? Let me Google who finances self-storage. Live Oak Bank. Okay, let me reach out to Live Oak Bank. Yeah. They ended up funding the deal.
And this is like a really, I think, a good like lesson is you just do the next step.
Right.
Like you don't know like all the steps there is to buy self-storage. You just know you have the end game plan in mind and like, okay, what's my next step?
Right.
Then you put all your energy toward that next step. Okay, now there's gonna be like the next steps will reveal itself.
Right.
Put all your energy to the next step, and like over time, like when you buy your next storage facility, you know all the steps, but like the first one is like the learning lessons but you have to like do it in order and like have the confidence that you're gonna eventually figure it out.
Right. Right. It was Javi yesterday. Javi is Ryan Pineda's COO, and he gave us a little presentation yesterday, like hiring a COO and stuff like that, because he said people were like, I want a Javi, I want a COO. And he's like, you're not at that level yet. Yeah. Where you're at is like, find somebody who could do this, this, and this, and then find somebody who could do this, So it's like, get to that next step, find that person, then get to the next step. And then one like analogy or metaphor that Brandon Turner always said, and it always resonated with me because Bakersfield was foggy as shit, was just like, excuse my French, but it was just, if you're driving in the fog and you stop, you're not going to be able to get through it. But like if you're going through fog and you just go a little bit at a time, it starts to open up a little bit more, goes a little bit at a time, opening up a little bit more, inching your way through until you get through the fog, and then things become clear. So I feel like I'm always in the fog, you know what I mean? But I'm just working my way.
That's life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said the other day, like, entrepreneurship is just like repeatedly jumping off a cliff, and then you jump off the next cliff, and you jump off the next cliff. So my personal cliff right now is moving back to San Diego and creating a business instead of like.
The thing is, like, I see you like leveling up at every level, right? So like after you read the books and like your first step was, okay, let's buy a few like $30,000 properties. You renovated them. You learned a lot. Like you had tenants. Then you slowly leveled up until now you bought the 15 unit, right? Then like you saw that. Now you're doing like the house flipping thing. Then you did the wholesaling. Now you're buying self-storage. Like at every level you're gaining skills and talents and confidence.
Right.
But also like building a network and just like you're leveling up as a person. So like the Michael of 2025 is way different than the Michael of 2021, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, like you said, the knowledge and experience along the way, even though it hasn't been like major successes, those experiences have taken me like to the next step.
And that's why you think like if you lost everything today, you could build it back up because you've done it already. And then like you already have the skill set and the knowledge and the grit to be able to like know that you can do it again.
Yeah. Like I feel like it's less, like it's more of like the mentality behind it, and like just like the grit behind it. Like it's when you're new, it's all about like, I don't want to risk this. I don't want to mess this up. I don't want I need to know everything. You know what I mean? But like for me, it was just like, let's figure out the next step and let's figure out how to do this. So with the storage facility, we ended up buying it for $2 million. Okay. Like he wanted it for 2.5.
So you negotiated that down.
Yeah, and I was like, man, $500K down. What's up? I'm a great negotiator, Like it appraised for 2.78.
Wow.
Like right before we bought it.
Wow. So I mean, you're walking into like $700,000 or $800,000 of equity.
Yeah, which was a pretty cool experience, So yeah, and then as far as like how the storage facility runs, man, it's like I got cameras on it. I have a virtual assistant that handles easy storage solutions and she'll move people out, move people in, call past dues, like let me know whose locks needs to get cut. I'll send my guys over there to cut locks. Like it's a fairly easy business to run, and I like really like it.
It's crazy though, like, but you're like a landlord of a $3 million business.
Yeah. Yeah. That specific business though is just like, it's a little bit of customer service, but man, for the most part, people just leave their stuff and they forget about it.
Versus like a tenant, like maybe like a multifamily.
Yeah.
It's more like passive as far as like that.
And our goal is to get everybody on like reoccurring, so that it just comes out. Like we're not chasing you. On the first, I get X amount of dollars every single month. So I really like the model. I kind of scaled back on it a little bit because it was a big learning curve for me. Like the guy who I bought it from, everything was on a Google sheet. Like he didn't really track stuff as much, and I'm trying to input this new software. And so it was a big learning curve.
But like that's what you want, is you want a guy who's like mismanaging it, because that's how you can walk into equity. If it's already being like optimally run,
right,
then like they're not gonna sell it at a discount,
right?
Because like it was on Google Sheets, and like that's the owner, like, hey, like I can add value to this property, and so like maybe it's worth like more than 2.7 now after you add in all like and get the NOI up, all these different things, add in software. Maybe it'll be worth like 5 million or something, right? So,
I think well, my goal with this specific property is because the Live Oak Bank is a 25-year amortization with a 10% down payment. You know what I mean? So like I actually talked to the old owner about it because he wanted to buy it back from me for 2.4 like a few months later. And I was like, you just like sold it to me for 2 million, you want it for 2.4 right now? Like, sorry, dude, I already took bonus depreciation. You're not getting this thing back right now. Just like the old owner told me is your goal isn't like for this specific property right now, because interest rates were high. You know, we're on adjustable rate mortgage. We bought it at kind of the top of the race, and we're just kind of waiting to get that. Like, you know, a $2 million loan, the difference between a point is like $800 or $900 a month. You know, it's like it's quite a bit. So the goal isn't necessarily the cash flow at this current juncture in my life, because, you know, I'm making money elsewhere, right? Yeah. But the goal is just to hold it for 25 years. Yeah. Because I'm 35 now. Yeah. 60 will be here quick. Yeah. And I didn't think 35 would be here so quick. Blink of an eye, I'm 35. Blink of an eye, I'll be 60, and that thing will be paid off, and it's bringing X amount a month.
Then it's just 100% cash flow at that point.
Yep. And that's my Social Security. You know.
I love it. I mean, like it's such a different way to think about retirement. It's 401k or like just own like rental properties like free and clear or these other things. It's such, and like there's no right or wrong, but I feel like if you do the math, the rental properties it just makes way like 10 times more sense. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that like Ryan Pineda says, and he's like big on the rentals don't work thing right now. And I agree with him for the majority of the portion. You know, like if you're getting started, you should be trying to make active money for sure. But like if you're in the game for a while and you got some money, like there's no reason that you can't buy rentals and don't worry about just the cash flow. Park that money there and let it sit. Let somebody pay it off for 30 years. When you're 60, 65, you have 10, 15 properties paid off.
And they're all appreciated. Like, you know, like there's like a bunch of stuff. You can pull the cash whenever you want. Exactly. So it's like your own piggy banks kind of thing.
When I had never heard it in that term before. And when he told me that, I was like, okay. Like, I understand now. Like, I'm not trying to live off my cash flow. I'm trying to set my future up, my kids' future up, to have all these assets paid off and be able to live a life that we want.
Love it. Yeah. So you still own you're gonna own probably this storage for the next 25 years. Yeah. But then what's like the active income that you're building right now?
I'm doing flips and a couple assignments this year just because some connections before had called me out of the blue and was like, I want to sell this. And I was like, I don't want that. Let me try and sell it. Okay. Put it on Facebook, sold it. But so my goal is just to continue that flipping business, you know, to keep that active income in Ohio. But I just moved to San Diego to
so the whole family moved to San Diego?
The whole family. We went there with one kid, 1-year-old, and we moved back with 3.
So Ohio wasn't so bad.
No, it was, you know, like Ohio gets a bad rap. But like it's beautiful, man. Like the trees there are beautiful. Like the fall, the spring, the winter is garbage. I absolutely hate it. But the rest of the you know, like in Bakersfield, California, for example, it's so hot during the summer you can't even go outside. Like you're not going to a park, you're not doing anything. It's like you're sitting inside in the air conditioner. So for me, it was like we can sit inside in the air conditioner in the summer, or we can sit inside in the heater in the winter. So you know, it wasn't the worst thing. But San Diego now is we literally just. So you want me to touch on that? Okay. So we had bought a trailer, like a 5th wheel trailer, and I just wanted to travel. You know, I love traveling, man. So like, and I want my kids to enjoy that. I feel like traveling isn't just like for like fun and financial, whatever. Like, I feel like I am who I am in some aspects because of how much I've traveled and cultures I've seen and people I've seen and being able to relate to so many people and things like that.
It expands like your mind.
100%.
Like, I think like as humans, it's whatever you're exposed to affects like who you are as a person. Right. And so that's why I think like traveling is really strong, but also like going to things like this masterminds or being around other investors, it literally changes your identity or like your perspective or beliefs in the system in the world. Yeah. Just by hearing other people talk, hearing like people are gonna hear your story, they're like, hey, this is possible. Like I can actually leave my W-2 while I'm like working and like build something, but they wouldn't have never like realized it until like they heard a story like that of someone who actually did it. You know?
No. Yeah, and touching on your mastermind thing, man, I never been in a mastermind before. This was literally my first one. And like the value that I got from this mastermind was like insane. Yeah, just like, I mean, I wouldn't be right here right now if I didn't go to that mastermind, you know? So like opens up opportunities, being around the people that you want to emulate and things like that. I see the value in that now. I only saw those people on YouTube and was like, I want to emulate that. You know what I mean? I want to be Grant Cardone. I want to walk into a room and everybody's like, you know, and he's just like, where's my deals? Where's my deals? Where's my deals? You know, like, so I'm not going to be that. I'm never going to build that big, huge, you know, conglomerate. But like, I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be.
But it's inspiring. Like
yeah.
We don't want to go to like that level, but like we can go to like this level. Like,
right.
You know, we're still inching our way up.
Exactly. So. Exactly. So yeah, the after the storage facility, or we went back to flipping, but then we bought a trailer and we wanted to travel around. Okay. And I don't know if you're familiar with like the RV world and stuff, but it, like they say, it escalates quickly, right? So like I went from like a old C-class motorhome, sold it, went to a pop-up, sold it, went to a 30-foot trailer, sold it, and we just bought a 40-foot trailer, you know? So I was like, let's leave this winter, let's go snowbird, you know? Let's go snowbird to San Diego. We've got family and friends in San Diego, and I'll try and see if I can find a deal out there to make it make sense for us to move back. You know, we've got everything set up over here in Ohio. And I was also getting very comfortable in Ohio. That's why I'm buying 4 RVs.
And stuff, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. But that's why I'm buying 4 RVs, because I'm getting too comfortable in my eyes. You know, like normally I would be like, no, we need to use this money for whatever. I'm getting too comfortable. Our house payment is nothing. I'm buying random stuff, whatever. So I was like, let's go snowbird. Let's see if we can find a deal. And then that way we can move back to San Diego and kind of like grow from there.
Okay.
Well, you know, in that literally 2 weeks time frame from that conversation,
okay.
we were still in Ohio.
Okay.
And we came back from a trip, and I'm just like looking in San Diego on Redfin, you know, and like with Redfin, I always tell people this is like, Redfin is awesome, man. If you go and you put like I want to go look for comps in this neighborhood, right? I'll go look at what's on market, and I'll put heart. And every update that comes from that house, it goes pending, it sells, or whatever, it goes directly to my email.
Okay.
And then anything that's in that area comes directly to my email, like new house in Santee, California, which is like in San Diego. So anyways, I had built a knowledge that like in this neighborhood, I could sell a 3.2 for $850 and above, and a 4.2 for $950 and above.
Okay.
And one popped up for $595 in my email. And so I was like, you know, this is what I do in Ohio. I just call them and I'm like, hey, you know, I'm an investor, I'm a flipper, blah, blah, blah. Like, try to build rapport, because I'll tell you why later, but that's what ended up winning me this deal, was just because I called. But so there ended up being 30 offers on the house, and I got the deal just because I was the one phone call. She said it was 30 offers, one phone call. And I was that phone call. And we built like great rapport. She's a big agent in San Diego doing like, 30.
This is like a very underestimated, I think, part of like the equation is the personal human touch can kind of put you over the top a lot of times.
Agreed.
And so like I know there's a lot of guys and like they do this thing called agent outreach, where they reach out to a bunch of agents and like they're trying to do volume, right? So like, they'll text like 1,000 guys or whatever, and like it does work, right? But I've got another buddy who's like, dude, like I just get on the phone and I call like 10 a day or something, and like he says like he does like pretty like good results, but it's like that personal touch was just the actual phone calls and like the things versus like, so like kind of like quality over quantity, and like 100%. There's no they're both work and they're both different, but like in this particular case, that quality won you this deal over like the agreed quantity.
Like when we called, we had a great conversation, you know, built rapport with her. She was a veteran also, and it was just like, it was to the point where we had such a good relationship. I was like, whatever offer comes in, I'll beat it by 1,000. That's what happened. You know, the biggest offer at the time was 612. She wrote up the contract at 613, sent it to me, signed it, sent it to the buyer, and I got it. You know what I mean? Awesome. There was like 4 offers that came in after that, like 630, 650. You know, so I got it for 613. But the spread there is massive. You know, and it's in the neighborhood that we love, around family and friends. And I looked at my wife and was like, do you want to move? You know, like, do you want to sell this house and move back to California and jump off this cliff and start all over and see if we can do bigger things in San Diego? And she thought about it for a second, and she was just like, let's do it. So we freaking called the agents in the area. We put our house up for sale. Like, it was, we ordered U-boxes, you know, U-boxes, they deliver them to your house. We had to put them way out on the side so that way people were walking through, you know. And the agent didn't want us to pack up because the decorations, you know. And so like it was just this back and forth. But man, that house, this is the house that I bought for 140 that was raccoon infested. We sold it for 320. Like a 10-day cash offer close.
Amazing, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, congrats on
that. Thank you so much. And then that was like another sign was just like, if we sell this house before we go, like, I mean, it was like, we cleaned it, listed it, sold it. And it was like, all right, let's go to San Diego now, you know? So packed up the fifth wheel and we're living in our fifth wheel right now.
Okay.
With 3 kids. They're 10 months, about to be 3, and about to be 5. So the 5 of us in the camera. Yeah, we're committed. So yeah, we're living in a trailer in San Diego right now while we renovate this house, and then we're gonna move into it.
So once it's renovated, you're gonna move into like this new house.
Yeah, and then from there, my biggest thing with why I haven't done any more flips in San Diego or pushed that needle there yet is because I wanted to see a project through. I wanted to know that this contract that I hire is going to be, beneficial for when I buy another deal. Because I don't want to buy another deal. The holding costs are so expensive over there. And then have to be finding a bunch of contractors to come in here and do this. If this guy works out, I told him, you'll have like 4 to 6 projects a year with me over here. And that's kind of what happened in Ohio. The guy that I had over in Ohio, he had a bunch of different jobs. I started just feeding him. Boom, boom, boom. He doesn't work for anybody else anymore. But now there's that pressure too, because like I have to keep deals coming to keep them working.
I mean, we have the same thing. Just you want to keep your good contractors, but if you don't have enough work, they're gonna find other jobs. Then it's gonna be hard to bring them back after, right?
Right. So, and that's really like that was a huge game changer for me. Is once I found the good contractors, because like that first year where I did 2, like it was a good contractor that did my Parma house, but I had like a couple other projects done, and like the stuff was just not great, So then once I found this guy. Actually, I did a walkthrough with a bunch of them, and he came in and was like, dude, you need to take this down, you need to put this here, and I was just like, nobody else had those suggestions. So I hired him, and since then he's done like 12 or more projects.
It's underrated as a flipper, like how important a good contractor is. Like it can
huge.
like literally make your life really easy or make your life like super like very, very stressful.
Oh yeah, like I mean, he was on his second project with me, and he was kind of, we were kind of beefing at the moment, over, I don't know, something stupid, but I went and hired somebody else for another project, right? And this guy was like pretended like he was button up, like, oh, we have a warehouse where we get materials and here's the contract, blah 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 blah, like everything was buttoned up. This guy just took off, like, and it was the way they did it was like they were going to do the roof and blah 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 blah, so he had like a roof draw for commencement of like the roof and commencement of like the mechanicals, and like I'm not a word connoisseur, so I thought commencement mean the end of it, but it's like the start of it, you know. So then he's requesting these draws. So like, we're doing the roof, I need $10,000. We're doing the plumbing, it says you're supposed to pay $10,000. Paid him $30,000, gone.
Wow.
They did like 15K of work and then gone.
Dude, I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah. So then that project, like, it got behind. Then I had to bring these guys from over there to over here. And so, like, that experience with a contractor was just like, I need to keep this guy and like I need to keep him working, and like you said, they can make or break you, like luckily, like just like with everything else, I don't give up. I was not gonna let that money go. I was gonna find that guy and figure out how to he paid me back.
Okay.
Long story short, he paid me back. Yeah, but like I'm not gonna give up on that money. So but yeah, he paid me back, and the guys got in there and finished the job. We actually just that was an Airbnb, and we just land contracted that one. So somebody that I know that does Airbnbs in that area, he bought it. So basically, like, I refinanced this property, and so I have a loan through it. And instead of selling it to somebody else where they have to go get their own loan and do everything like that, we sold it as a land contract, meaning that we signed the deed over to him, and the mortgage stays in my name.
Okay.
So I pay the mortgage, and he pays me X amount of dollars on top of that. So like I'm cash flowing like $400 off this house now, and then he runs the Airbnb his way. So.
But is it eventually when he pays you enough, then he owns the property?
So it's a 3-year balloon payment.
Okay.
So in 3 years, he's got to pay the rest of it off.
Got it.
So, but for him, they're all around his other Airbnbs. It was already furnished. It already had good reviews because of our hosting. And so for him, it was good for him to take over it. So it's actually really new to me doing a land contract like that. But like he brought it to me and I was just like, let's figure this out.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean, that's the thing being this as an investor is that you're always trying to creatively solve solve problems. And there's always a solution. You just don't know what it is yet. So sometimes when things feel hard, it's just because you've never solved that problem before. But once you've solved it like before, it's very easy.
Yeah. So that's what Javi said. That's what I was talking about earlier. That when I lost my train of thought was that he was saying that like he has a problem that he knows that he just needs to sit in it and like process it, and like the solution will reveal itself. And you know, again, no mentorship, no nothing, no COO, no nothing. I'm like, you know, there's a problem, I need to try and figure out how to fix it now. But like that idea of just being able to sit in it for a second, let the solution reveal itself was a new idea to me, and I'm going to start applying that. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to do it, but another way is just call the buddy and say, hey, like, this is like a thing, what are your thoughts, right? And sometimes like when you work through like a problem with somebody else, like you have the solution in you, but it's just like I'm like this and like you just solve it just by like explaining it to somebody because like it clicks in your head. So I feel like a lot of times we do like whiteboard sessions. I love this. I have like a physical whiteboard where just like we're talking to the problem, and then like as I'm writing out, okay, boom, that's like why didn't I see this?
Right.
But just like you just working through it with another human just is like really beneficial.
Too. Yeah, like I said, like I mean, this weekend was the most conversations I've had with anybody that was in real estate. You know what I mean? So like, hopefully I can give you a call when I need
give it anytime, bro. And the thing is too is like there's such a power in like a community and like because it does so many things. Like number one is we share information with each other, experiences. We can help work through problems. It's inspirational. We can like help motivate, hold people accountable. Right. And then like this, and sometimes like we share resources. Like, hey, I've got a contractor here. I've got a lender here. Like, well, how can we like help each other? And so it's just so much more powerful being like in a community of other people who are also doing like cool stuff. You know, so.
Yeah, definitely. Like it was super eye opening for me, and like you said, just to be able to hear how other people were doing things and how like I can adjust what I'm doing based on what they're doing and seeing success with was huge for me. You know, just the mindset things that we got. I actually told Ryan like this, like when I went and talked to him the first night, I was like, man, like I've been following you for a long time, but I never bought into like the mentorship or anything like that. I was just kind of like, I'll figure this out myself. I'll watch your YouTube videos and figure. The value that you get when you sign up for the mentorship, I told him was like, I didn't expect it to be so much. You know, like just from like, you know, something as small as finding a purchase agreement for me was like, man, I had to Google it and then make sure it worked for Ohio and try to use like Sejda.com to try and edit it. You know what I mean? Like, and he just hands you all that stuff, hands you all the spreadsheets, the profit and loss statements. And that alone was like pretty eye opening for me. So yeah, it's like you said, being around a community is definitely much more valuable than I thought.
So last question for you, somebody who's just starting out, like, you know, like they're brand new, like they like maybe they're working or something, or they're thinking about leaving their job, but they want to hear like advice from somebody like yourself who's done it. What one piece of advice would you give them?
It'd be broken up into a couple things, but I think like if you want to do something, you got to do it. Like you can't just like say I'm gonna do this, say I'm gonna do that, and have all these dreams and you know get lost in the clouds. If you're not gonna take the steps to do it, you're never gonna do it. And if you don't have the grit to get through anything, you're definitely not gonna be successful, in my opinion, because there is not a single day that there isn't a fire that comes up. You know what I mean? And I have a small portfolio compared to most people, you know, or compared to a lot of people. But there's always a fire that comes up. And if you don't have the grit and determination and the why to get through all that, I don't think you're going to be successful. So for me, the biggest thing is like, I don't know if you can develop grit or develop this thing, but like just in your head, develop a never say quit attitude and don't give up no matter what gets thrown at you. And
great advice, man.
We'll see how it plays out for me. But one thing I said before is like, I don't know that I'm going to be the most successful person. I don't know that I'm going to make it to X amount. But what I do know is I will never quit.
I love that. Yeah. There's someone, I think like another quote like someone was shared was like, you only lose when you quit, right?
Right.
So,
yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, if people want to find out more about you or connect with you, what's the best way?
I'm on Instagram. It's Michael_David89. I'm starting to do some YouTube, just like I do a lot of walkthroughs through my flips and things like that, and I show people what I'm doing. Not very good at it, but this year I'm focusing on putting out some better content, so that's where you can find me.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you having me on the
Thank you
show.
very much, man. Yeah, thank you very much.